In light of Britain's decision to leave the European Union and moving the formal letter, I want to ask you, Minister, if the Government has given any consideration to the need for new formal structures for dialogue to be established between Ireland and Britain and indeed between the Irish and British governments, and if you can outline whether any discussions or preparations are in train at this early stage. Thank you.
Minister Gan Omid.
Ireland has a strong and constructive relationship with the United Kingdom and indeed with our EU partners. We are fully committed to maintaining both in the new set of circumstances which will emerge once the United Kingdom leaves the European Union. There are numerous channels for the Irish-British engagement, and both governments are making extensive and effective use of them. Some of these forums were developed in the context of the Good Friday Agreement, and some of them were established more recently or have evolved and developed over years to reflect the close relationship between these islands. They will all be used to the full, not least given the UK's withdrawal from the European Union. These channels include the British-Irish Intergovernmental Conference, the British-Irish Council, the British-Irish Parliamentary Assembly, and a formal process established in 2012 involving summits between the Taoiseach and the UK Prime Minister, supported by a joint work programme, managed at official level by heads of all government departments in both Dublin and London. At political level, there are ongoing and frequent contacts across all policy areas, as well as regular meetings the Taoiseach and I would have with our counterparts. Government colleagues recently meeting their UK counterparts have included Minister of Finance, Minister of Social Protection, Minister for Education and Science. In terms of our diplomatic resources, our embassy in London is and will remain our largest bilateral embassy in the world. In fact, given the UK's exit from the European Union, and with a view towards helping strengthen bilateral links in a post-Brexit context, 2 additional diplomatic officers have been assigned to our embassy in London. We also have a Consul General in Edinburgh, for which I approved an additional diplomat in 2015, while our Trade, Tourism and Investment Agency's footprint in Britain is significant and will continue to be so. Regarding formal structures, the next summit of the British-Irish Council is scheduled to take place in Northern Ireland in June of this year, the previous meeting having taken place in Cardiff last November. BIC meetings such as these provide Ireland with a valuable opportunity to engage with devolved administrations in the UK, while there are 12 specific work sectors being addressed at ministerial and official level all year round. These summit meetings since the UK referendum have also included specific sections on Brexit. In doing so, reflecting a capacity for flexibility in issues being discussed at these meetings.
The rest of your reply will be on the record here. Deputy, 1 minute.
I'm quite disappointed with your response, actually, Minister. I think our shared membership of the Union has given both countries a space to build and consolidate trust and to work in a formal way. With Britain's exit, that is at risk, and I think that's why I and my party fundamentally believe that a new Irish-British agreement dealing with matters other than the peace settlement will be required, and I don't believe that the mechanisms under the Good Friday Agreement are just simply sufficient. It's clear that with Brexit, it's not business as usual, and we can't go on with this idea that it is. I think a new British-Irish agreement would be a way of strengthening the links between our countries and particularly consolidating the links north and south. From your answer, the sum total of our response appears to have been the appointment of 2 additional diplomats in London. That's simply not sufficient. That shows a lack of vision, it shows a lack of desire, and a lack of a desire to prioritise the relationship between the 2 countries and to consolidate the Good Friday Agreement. We need more than this. We need more than a British-Irish Council, British-Irish Assembly.
Thank you.
We need a desire of this government to stand up for their citizens.
Thank you. You'll have another minute. Minister, 1 minute.
Sure to hear what new formal institutions the Deputy would wish to see. I wish again to make it quite clear that the withdrawal of the UK from the European Union and the negotiations that are about to commence must take full account of, and indeed must show the fullest of respect to all the provisions of the Good Friday Agreement. Indeed, on the basis of our intensive political and diplomatic engagement over last year, we have received very heartening support from our EU partners in this regard, and we are now about to pursue these through the formal negotiations between the European Union and the United Kingdom. We haven't been in negotiations with the United Kingdom. We have had discussions, but now we will be in a position to engage through the European Union in the context of the formal negotiations. We are not going to sell the Good Friday Agreement short. We are not going to engage in any renegotiation of the Good Friday Agreement in response to the British policy of Brexit. Can I say the legal and political obligations of both the Irish and British governments under the Good Friday Agreement remain unchanged, and this will continue regardless of the status of the UK within the European Union.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you will have another minute. Final minute, Deputy O'Brien.
No, I think, Minister, you're missing the point here. The mechanisms that are in place under the Good Friday Agreement haven't been utilised over the last 5, 6, 7 years to their full potential. And we need to look at forging on from that relation and adding to those. If you take the British-Irish Council, the last summit meeting was held in Cardiff in November 2016. The next one's in the north of Ireland in June 2017. We've British-Irish parliamentaries. It's too loose. We need to actually look at strengthening those ties post-Brexit, but planning for it now. It's not part of the Brexit negotiations. It's about trying to underpin the Good Friday Agreement and moving on further from the Good Friday Agreement in looking at what is a potential reality of a future reunification of this country and of this island. And we can't just stand still. And certainly the manner in which this government and the previous government have approached the institutions of the Good Friday Agreement in a very lackadaisical, laissez-faire way, I might add. So what I'm asking you now, has any consideration been given in government to establishing new formal structures for dialogue between Ireland and Britain and North and South?
Thank you very much. One final minute, Minister.